Welcome back to A Faster Me. We are out here at the second day of Valley of the Sun, and we are in for a lot of extended suffering with a 46-mile road race. So I'm not sure if you could hear at the start. We have some great supporters with Tony and Nancy Dang out, so they were cheering for us as we got started. Tony came out but did not do the road race. So I knew that I was going to be in for some suffering today, so I was just trying to work on staying a little bit more protected, staying in the draft a little bit better. If I could possibly be in position on the first hill, maybe do a little something to help Marlena, because she, definitely has a good chance this weekend to do well. So I was going to see if I could do anything to help her, because she said the hill is usually where the attacks happen and the field gets broken up. So it is a neutral start, so the motorcycle paces us out, and through this first corner there's a cattle guard as you make the right hand turn, and it's neutral till then, meaning you can't go past the motorcycle, and then it's a free for all after that. And you will see that unlike most of the road races I've done that have continued, at a fairly relaxed pace in the beginning, there's going to be an attack almost immediately. And I think, I'll get into that, but I was thinking I might not make it 5 minutes in this road race. So here you can just see we're cruising, sitting in. There's maybe 25 of us, and we're about to make the right-hand turn now. You'll see the cattle guard. Very interesting. The women are very friendly, yelling out, slowing, pointing out, rock and dirt in the ground. So it definitely, at this point, felt like just a group ride, but that'll change very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a big difference from, the men's race or whatever, because I don't think anyone ever pointed out anything, which honestly is a good thing. When you're racing, it's a little bit different than a group ride. I know some people think it's the exact same, but it's not. You really can't afford to point out every single hazard. If it's a true hazard, yes, you want to point it out, but some things that are not hazards you want to ignore. You don't want to get into a situation of crying wolf.
And there, the pace took off, and there goes the attack up the hill. Somebody shouts out, "Let it go," but the field doesn't listen, and people attack. You saw in the corner, it sped up. I did almost 600 watts, and here I'm doing 400. And I'm thinking at this point, I can't make it. I cannot do this effort. Something's got to give. There's a few people passing me. I am towards the back of the pack. We have a pretty small field, so it's a lot more difficult to hide.
Yeah, if I can add some perspective to this a little bit. So Ellen's FTP is right now around 205 to about maybe 210. Obviously, so 400, 300 watt efforts are well into VO2 and anaerobic. But if you notice, she's on the right side of the road. The wind's coming off the right, so she's not as protected. When she was doing those big efforts, the 2 lanes over, some of those riders were freewheeling, and that's because they were protected from the wind. So it's not the same for everyone. It depends on where you're positioned in the group.
Yeah, and I don't think I figured that out as quickly of the crosswind, because it felt like I should have been more protected. And there, it just was, I was suffering, and I was on the right-hand side. And unfortunately, it's a lot easier to get boxed in on the right. When people make moves up the left side of the road, you oftentimes are stuck. And here there's another acceleration. I think watching the men's category, you were not doing these hard of efforts here. It was a lot more chill. I don't think.
Yeah, it was very chill. I was doing like 100 and like somewhere between like 100 and 150 watts most of the time.
Yes, and here I am just struggling to stay on, and I again, I think I can react a little bit quicker and maybe do a shorter 400 effort 400 watt effort that's shorter and get on a wheel. Instead, I do a much extended
Yeah.
300 effort.
We talked
Watt
about this a
effort.
little bit, but honestly, I think it really just depends on positioning and drafting. I know a lot of these women are strong, but I don't think all of them are doing 300 watts or 280 watts. So you're just exposing yourself and you're in the wind. So you got to kind of push your own wind. And really, you need to just tuck in better up there, and you'd probably be doing a lot less watts.
Yeah. So anyway, so here we go. I'm trying to kind of catch back up and not have the first 5 minutes be my only minutes with the Peloton. So I will be able to get connected, but unfortunately, this hard effort in the beginning, hurts me later, and I'm not able to hold on. Sorry to give it away.
Yeah, I think here, like you said, yeah, those efforts will take a toll in the end. Every effort takes a toll. Like, we only have so much money to spend as far as energy. And unless you're, eating well, have a time to recover, all that stuff, it doesn't come back. So you may start with the full tank, but as you go, it's getting, it's starting to empty. So anyway, as you can tell, like if you get back up in here and get into a good position, look at the girls to your left. They're soft pedaling. Some of them are freewheeling, and you're doing 300 watts. So yeah, it's just really being in better position, feeling that wind. I know when you're out there and the adrenaline's flowing, you think everyone's going this hard, but they're simply not. So just got to tuck in better and just find a air pocket.
Yes. So here I was able to move up a little bit, but again, I didn't pay attention at the time. I couldn't completely tell the wind was coming from the right. So I'm trying to kind of move up a little bit, but on the right side, I'm not getting near as much protection from the person in front of me as the other women. And I'm just probably need to be just a little bit closer as well.
For sure. Yeah, a little bit closer to the young lady in black in front of you. As you can tell, like she has a little bit of a power stroke going, but I'm pretty sure she's saved a lot more energy than you have just from being tighter in there. And of course, we're not going to beat this forever. That's just what it is. Better positioning for all of us. Doesn't matter if it's a crit race, road race, anything that has drafting in it is going to save you some energy.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many attacks there were of just, I think, burning out people's legs. There was a number of extremely hard accelerations. And so anyway, I'm trying to settle in a little bit better, using a little less energy here to kind of coast up.
Yeah, and it's like I mentioned in my race, the thing is, when someone goes off the front, like an attack, and you're saying everybody's reacting to it, yeah, they don't know how strong that girl is. They don't know if she can just solo away, and that competitive spirit just makes you chase. If it was someone that you knew and they're not strong, yeah, it's easier for people to sit in. But, when someone attacks and you don't know how strong they are, the others that want to be in contention, they're going to run it down.
And we do have a mixed field here. So even though we're scored separately, the Masters 35 plus, the Masters 50 plus, and the Category 5 women are out here in addition to the Category 4 racers. So there is a pretty good mix of women here. And so all that work I had done to move up, everyone just kind of passed me again with that hard effort.
Yeah, you just had, I think you're a little slow to react. I saw you hit like 500 and something watts. You're just a little slow to react, and yeah, you got to be on it, got to be prepared. And that's one thing that I always stress with cadence. You have to be in a gear that's going to allow you to accelerate immediately. A lot of people like to run a heavy gear, and then they're struggling to accelerate or match accelerations.
Here the motorcycle is coming up and warning one of the riders for a center line rule, and it was from what I was told, a pretty harsh warning. I didn't see the crossing of the double yellow, but there is a center line rule in effect, meaning you can't go across that. And there's cars out here, so that could be your life if it you get pushed out, or if you aren't paying attention, and racing is not worth worth that.
Yeah, and one of the things too, they don't want people going across the center line. When there's a center line rule, they don't want you going across the center line, one, for oncoming traffic, and two, they don't want you to go across the center line and take that opportunity to move up spots and then get back in.
Yeah. I unfortunately went across the double yellow where the cattle guard was on the subsequent laps, just turning. It's a pretty, you can take it with a lot of speed, but you do run wide. So I was like, dang it. And then, it actually is a cattle guard. I mean, there's a good, if you got your
Drop off.
wheels in sideways, you could be in for a more of a ride than you bargained for. But it really wasn't that unsafe going across, but I was a little bit, not too happy that I had ran as wide as I did.
Yeah, I ran in hot also, almost killed myself, but that's just what happens when you're dropped and you're desperate to latch back on, and yeah, so here's again, you just got to move to the left side a little bit here, get in the slipstream. As you can see, you're doing a lot of watts, and again, the girl next to you is kind of soft pedaling, coasting sometime. So, and I stress that so much because honestly, it's truly important when it comes to racing. It's not about who's the strongest; it's about who saves energy, and then using their strengths to their advantage. You can really, any type of group rides, bunch rides, you can really save a lot of energy. Sometimes it's deceptive, and you see that on weekend rides. You'll see a lot of people hanging with like professional riders. At least in Southern California, we have like pretty big, like really large competitive group rides, and you'll have like some of the Legion guys in there, some professional women, and people will hang in their group ride in their draft and then think like, oh, I'm just as fast as this person, and it's not even remotely close. It's a lot different when you have to push the win yourself opposed to riding in someone's slipstream.
For sure. And unfortunately, I'm not the smartest rider. I have some of the knowledge in my head, but my execution is sometimes lacking in riding smart and saving energy, as I'm sure if you've seen any videos, you maybe have seen that. This is a really cool event just due to the fact of people coming from all over. So you have a lot of different types of riders. There's a chance to kind of meet people that, in your normal local rides, either you know them or you maybe don't talk the same, but you make connections with a lot of different people from across the country. And, I thought that was a lot of fun just because you're out here sharing pretty amazing experience. I think I heard this is the largest amateur event in the country.
Yeah, probably maybe the largest like sanctioned race or whatever. But excuse me. Yeah, racing's a whole different beast. Riding is one thing, and racing is just something different. So I think it was a great event, great experience, and yeah, hopefully people will travel to races more. It's just different. In every region, it's a little bit different.
So here we are. I'm still kind of struggling to get in good position, hold on. We had a little bit of a downhill section that I was able to, save a little bit of energy and move up, but then it seems like every time there's an effort, I'm in the wrong position. So here I'm going to move over a little bit, and this is going to be a little bit better protection on the left side here. And you can see I save, I'm in the draft a little bit, and I'm starting to save a little bit of energy.
Yeah, honestly, You're too far back though. You're probably a full bike length back and just need to be a little closer to get a better benefit, especially with the crosswind. You need to be a little tighter. I think you should be coming up on the turn pretty soon. My apologies, I don't have the map up in the left side. I don't know why, but for some reason it wouldn't let me replace the temperature with the GPS map of like the entire course. I did that on my race, but for whatever reason, sometimes editing software has glitches in it, and I wasn't able to put the map up there.
So yeah, I do think we're about to make the turn, so we're, it's starting to bunch up maybe just a little bit, and I'm gonna try to use the turn to get in a little bit better position.
Yeah, this is another attacking area though too, going into the headwind here. And there it is.
For sure. And there is a pretty significant rumble strip on the right side of this road. And oh my gosh, another really hard effort.
Yeah, that's just, the accordion effect being at the back. People that hit the turn first, they get to go through on their own line at their own speed. And then, of course, they don't have as big of an acceleration out. Everyone that's behind them has to slow down and wait until till the rider in front of them picks their line and accelerates. So there's just a huge accordion effect there, and you got caught in it.
Yeah, it felt pretty painful. And here I'm on the left side, but I think the wind is out here as well, so I'm not getting as much protection this side either. But
Yeah.
I was able to move up and follow this rider, in front of me to move up a little bit.
It
And
is-
there is Marlena to my right, so we're gonna kind of ride together for a section here. So I was happy to finally be up,
Yeah.
not fighting for last.
It's much better position though, just being more in the middle. Obviously, you want to be towards the front, but if you can be a little bit more in the middle here, you're definitely going to have more protection than hanging off the end. And when you're in the middle, it's a little bit of a blessing because you can't just fall back because there's riders behind you. And I think that's something that helps you because it's maybe your comfort level, but often you're like too far off the wheel in front of you.
Yeah, not knowing the rider, I have a hard time trusting and being as close as I need to. On your wheel, I can do that. That's why it's so important to ride next to your teammates because you do practice with them. And I think at one point, Marlena may have let me in. I don't see it on the video, but I recall one time she said, "Hey, get in," and I was able to slot in.
Yeah, I think too with being close, like you don't need to exaggerate. Like, no, you hear people saying you want to be 6 inches off a wheel. That's 100% not true. You do not want to be 6 inches off the wheel, especially being that close to riders you don't know. That's recipe for disaster. I would say you can stay one wheel length off the wheel and get a really good draft. And you shouldn't be more than a half a bike length back. If you're more than half a bike length, yeah, you're gonna lose some of that draft benefit, even though it's still there. And the faster you go, the longer the draft benefit extends behind the rider in front of you. But yeah, I think a good wheel length is a good distance to be at.
Yeah, and this is probably the best that I've been kind of protected for sitting in the draft, kind of riding with the group. And it does take a lot of concentration, just kind of paying attention to where you're at, paying attention to the wheel, the riders around you. So racing is not only the physical aspect, but the mental aspect. And, the more you do it, the more comfortable you are, riding next to people, paying attention to just the flow of the race, kind of paying attention to when maybe someone's going to make a move, because usually there's body language that indicates that. So you can see maybe when someone's gonna sprint or put in a hard effort just by, certain body language.
Yeah, I can see another thing too, even now that you're in the draft, one thing that hurts you a little bit is you do not have a consistent cadence. And that just means that you're really riding pretty surgy. Even when the group doesn't surge and you're sitting in good position, you are doing these micro bursts instead of a nice steady cadence. You only need to adjust your distance to the rider in front of you slightly and gradually. You don't want to fall back 3 feet and then surge up 3 feet and fall back, because if you look at your Watson cadence, you're basically zero cadence, and then you'll spike up to 300, then you're zero, instead of just holding like a steady 160 or something like that at a medium pace or medium cadence.
And here it went to single file, and I'm not sure if that's because it got a little bit faster, but I was kind of caught out to the left when it went to single file, and getting back in sometimes is not as easy. So here it's fanned out just a little bit.
Yeah, and anytime a ride goes to single file, that means the pace is kind of hot. It doesn't matter what the miles per hour is. It just basically means when it's strung out that it's fast for the condition. Because if it wasn't fast, you'd see riders bunching up, and that's just the nature of racing or group rides. So anytime it gets single file, maybe double file, it's going at a pretty good pace for the conditions.
And there's some riders moving up on the right side, on the right-hand side of the rumble strip. I was trying to avoid having to go over that rumble strip because it's pretty significant.
Yeah, it is a better draft over there, and you can see how they're just soft pedaling, especially the woman in the blue next to the lady in the red. She's pretty soft pedaling there and just protected by the wind.
And there's Marlena again. Unfortunately, Marlena had a little incident with her tire, and a pretty disappointing way to finish with at the last lap battling for, the top spots.
Yeah, Marlena had a good weekend. This was a race that she was kind of looking forward to, and other than the flat tire at the end of this race, she had, she'd probably be on the podium. I'm pretty sure she'd be on the podium for the general classification. She got fourth in the time trial with the time of 25 something, set a new power record holding 245 watts for that duration, which is awesome. And then she got second in the crit race. So yeah, battling at the front in this race and then blowing a tire with, I don't know how far to go or whatever. Yeah, that's just unfortunate because I think she had a podium for the general classification coming to her.
Anthony giving away secrets of races that haven't happened yet, but that's okay. We will share the details of how that came to be when we do those races. So here, just trying to kind of sit in, and the pace is pretty good on this. The wind was pretty significant going into, it says 0%, but it definitely felt like a slight uphill with the wind. And as the day progressed, the wind increased. I'm fairly certain that it even increased more in the later races because some of the times, I just think that the wind picked up. So later fields had even more wind to contend with.
Yeah, and this whole stretch is kind of like a false flat. It's 0% and has little dips in it where to go downhill. But for the most part, you'll see a lot of pluses over there on the grade meter.
And I think that is Brooke in front of me. Can't tell right now. But she and I became good friends later in this race. She became my teammate, unofficial, with the work that we're going to put in together, just trying to survive.
Yeah, I think you should be coming up to the point where it's a right-hand turn, getting ready for the climb. Maybe just on the other side of those hills to the right.
And no, I think 989 is a different. That's Brooke's teammate, Kelly, and she, I think, comes in first in the road race for Category 5.
That's awesome.
So, yes, it's the Tolero Racing. So, when we turn this corner to the right, it is a go from that point, and I didn't record the entire first lap. I just recorded to, when I fell off, and then I was going to just see kind of what happened, and I turned my camera on later when I was starting to work with with some other riders.
Yeah, if you look to your left, and you guys are going steady uphill right now, but if you look at Marlena's cadence, it's pretty steady. And she just kind of, it's kind of like pistons just going, and that saves you energy there. Like we were talking earlier with your surging, as you can see, like you're going up and down, but just a nice steady cadence and kind of gradually control the gap in front of you. That just saves a lot more energy and it's more efficient, and you'll have more at the end. And I think for this entire first 20 minutes of this race or whatever, you've been surging a lot, and that just really taxes you.
And I felt it. I was taxed. It was a very challenging race, and unfortunately I had some bibs I'd never wore before, and it was just a little bit uncomfortable. And doing 46 miles, you start to kind of play games in your head. It is a lot of suffering. So you're suffering this much in the first lap, and then you have 2 more laps to go. It was almost 3 laps of this circuit.
Yeah. And overall, just smooth is efficient, and efficient is fast. So just kind of think of that in your head, like, how smooth can I be on this ride? How smooth can I be, and how much energy can I save so I can use it to my benefit when the time comes.
And you see we passed a rider to the right there from one of the men's races. And when you're out here on the course with numerous different races and you can't work with those people, you just need to pass them or they need to pass you. I was passed by one man who was just flying, had to be off the front of one of the races. I'm not sure which one, but he was very encouraging as I was dropped in suffering lonely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're coming up to the right-hand turn here. That's going to start like the base of the climb. And this climb is very long. It's an extended climb.
And right there's Brooke 992, who we became unofficial teammates out here working together. And you will get to see a little bit. There was a handful of riders that we were able to work together, had a little bit of a dynamic pace line going. 677 is Erin there. I worked with her. She was, off the back. So I think Erin and I worked together first, and later Brooke and I do. But it's nice to kind of make those connections and have someone else that you're suffering with for a common goal to try to, move up.
Yeah, for some reason you lose a couple positions here. I don't know if it's just the riders on the left moved forward or if you're going backwards.
And you see a 300 plus watt effort. I'm having a little bit of a yo-yo effect also.
Yeah, I think, it's been the theme of this race, but yeah, that 300 watt effort you should have used like 30 seconds ago to keep the wheel in front of you instead of falling off and then trying to use a 300 watt effort.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so here, this is about, it just gets fast from this point. So this is the beginning of the road to the climb, and they are just gone. So it stretches out, and
I don't think they're gone yet, but it was a hard acceleration. Anytime you turn, anytime the pace slows down, there's going to be attack. That doesn't matter if it's a road race or a crit race. Anytime the pace slows down, someone's going to attack. It's too slow, and people are going to attack. So when you come to a corner and the speed slows, just be prepared to accelerate out of that corner.
Yeah, in my mind, in remembering the race, this is where I got dropped, but it looks like it's a little bit it's a little bit later, and I'm able to kind of hold on for a little bit, but it's just a hard effort through here.
Yeah, and if you notice, the wind's coming off the left now, so you'll see the riders on the right are pedaling a little bit easier than the riders on the left. It looks the same, and it looks like people are giving the same energy, but trust me, it's not, and that's why the lady in blue is able to move up right there, because she has an easier time right now. And it's just something to pay attention to. You think you're doing the same effort because you're going the same direction, but it's not. And now you're definitely detached now.
Yeah, so pretty soon I'm going to turn off my camera because I'm not making up this gap.
Yeah, so
So yeah, I pretty soon you see that it starts to get just people start to get spit off the back on this climb.
yeah, they're a little too far to see now, but yeah, I think we're coming to the end of the video. We just put the dynamic pace line on there, but she only had like a minute or so before the camera died. So we'll leave you with that.
So here I am working with Aaron. You're going to see Jennifer, who was very encouraging and had organized the group. There was 4 of us that worked together for a while. We picked up another 1 or 2, and that's about all you're going to get to see. So stay tuned for stage 3.
So quick note here, when you rotate through here doing dynamic pace lining, you want to rotate into the wind. So they should be rotating to the right, and that allows the group or the line that's going forward to have a slight protection from the wind. So just know, like, when you do dynamic pace lining, you should be rotating into the wind. Actually, any pace lining, but dynamic for sure. See you in stage 3.